So clearly we are heating up the stove. Anthony McCarron and Ty Butler join us to make sense of all this. So let's start with Alonso, who, unlike last offseason, is coming off a great season. No qualifying offer this year. So, Anthony, how do you think that's going to affect his market?
Yeah, I think Pete's going to do a lot better this winter, Michelle, than he did last year, waiting so long for the 2-year deal option for the second year that didn't end up triggering. So he's now back out on the market after having more than 80 extra base hits. Only 6 guys had 80 extra base hits all year last year, Michelle, and the other guys on that list are like Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani. So Pete's in pretty select company. It was a big year for him. Look, do I think he's going to get a 7-year deal? No, I don't. But I do think he's going to do well. I think he's going to get a 4- or 5-year deal for a nice price. And look, when you sign this guy, you are getting massive production. He hammered the ball last year. He is run production. He's not run prevention, but he is run production.
Well, the Mets reportedly could push for the Phillies for Kyle Schwarber. So, Ty, would you rather the Mets re-sign Alonso or go after Schwarber?
Now, here's the deal. Signing Kyle Schwarber, it's not a horrible move. Obviously, he finished second in MVP in the National League last year. We know this guy can rake. But if that happens, what this tells me is something went horribly wrong, because me personally, I'd rank Alonso higher on my priority list. I'd have Bellinger, throw in Tucker. These would be amongst the names that I would have higher than Kyle Schwarber. And if we just do the head-to-head, Pete Alonso versus Kyle Schwarber, Pete's a proven guy here in New York. He's done it before. Let's look at the numbers for Kyle Schwarber. Now, here are his ranks as far as how he's fared at Citi Field. Now, obviously not a high sample size, but these ranks compared to what he's done in Flushing versus other ballparks. Low batting average. I know we don't care about batting average, but under 200 gives you some run production with home runs and RBIs, but 27th in OPS, 25th in slugging. So with this guy being strictly a DH, haven't seen him perform well in Citi Field, and I do think there's value. I know Pete Alonso's not a great first baseman, but there's value in being able to play the field, whereas Schwarber's not going to do that for you.
Yeah, you make a great point. Obviously, they're very similar offensively, but something that I thought was interesting, Schwarber certainly takes his walks, because in the last 3 seasons, Kyle Schwarber has 340 to Pete's 196. The Mets brought in Devin Williams. So what does that mean for Edwin Diaz? Anthony, if the 5th year is the hurdle, should the Mets give it to him?
Well, with the caveat, Michelle, that it's not my money, yes, the answer is. And that's it's pretty clear to me, because, look, the Mets have won the World Series twice in their entire history, right? They think that they've got something good here with this club, with this roster. Why not make the bullpen actually into a strength? It was a weakness last year. We don't have to relive that drama. But Edwin Diaz and Devin Williams at the back end of the relief corps is a much different story than what they were scrambling through last year. And it actually makes the team better, because right now they've only signed a closer replacement. How is the bullpen better? Add Edwin Diaz. If it takes the 5th year and he's the 7th inning guy in year 5 of that contract, and you're paying a little extra, I get it. You didn't win the last year of the contract, but let's concentrate on the beginning part when you're going for a World Series.
And that point is the most important. I don't care what it looks like down the line. You're trying to win a World Series now. Last year, the Mets, 15th in bullpen ERA, despite Diaz being an all-star. So if you remove him from that pen that struggled, you get even worse. And you brought up Devin Williams. Yes, he has a high ceiling. We saw how he ended with the Yankees. We know what he was in Milwaukee. But I would love to have that 1-2 punch of Diaz and Devin Williams. So, if I'm David Stearns, I'm bringing him back. Absolutely.
Well, the Tigers are reportedly speaking with teams about a Tarik Skubal trade, and though the price is enormous, Ty, if you're David Stearns, do you pay that enormous price?
Now, let's focus on the word enormous, because what does it really mean in the grand scheme of things? Now,
Nolan McClain.
The Tigers are going to find out the hard way. When you have a guy you can't afford, it's going to limit your market, because you're not only having to trade him, but you also have to trade him to a team that can give him that extension. So it limits your options as far as suitors. And the Mets, in the midst of this championship window, obviously you do what you need to do to get this done, but I think that the price won't be as enormous as we think it is once we see this process play out, because not too many teams are going to be able to afford to trade for him and then give him that massive contract. But you absolutely do this. I mean, come on. We saw that rotation last year. Anthony would be an upgrade in that rotation
I don't know about
for the
that.
Mets. So Skubal coming off of back-to-back Cy Young seasons, the best pitcher in baseball. You do everything possible to go get that man.
Yeah, you know, I love the player, guys, but if Nolan McLean's name comes up in these deals for 1 year of guaranteed control, I'm not getting involved in that market. Then, if it's some of the lower level prospects on the Mets list, which they're actually in a good spot, Michelle, as you know, they have a very highly regarded farm system right now, so they do have a lot of inventory to deal from. Look, would I part with Jonah Tong in a Tarik Skubal deal? Yes, I would. Brandon Sproat? Yes, I would. There are other guys on the list at the top of the list that I would push into the middle.
The only one's Nolan McLean that you wouldn't?
Yes, because I think he is something extraordinarily special, and the Mets need to find out how high that ceiling is because it's enormous.